Welcome to Windows on the World. On this part of the show, we're going to be talking to Dr. Rishi, who's a junior doctor and has just released a single. It's a song, and it concerns everybody in the country indirectly. So, Dr. Rishi, welcome to Windows.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Nice to meet Piers as well today.
We're also joined by the effervescent Piers Corbyn.
Thank you very much.
So, tell us a bit about how you got involved in this project and what made you do it.
So, basically, I've been a junior doctor for 10 years. I've worked down in London in the NHS in various jobs. And I'm currently a senior registrar in orthopaedics, so I'm almost at the end of my training. Now, I felt sort of compelled with what was going on the last few months, really to get involved from the political side of things. I feel that junior doctors, we're the sort of front line when people come into hospitals, along with nurses, along with consultants as well. But I feel that it's very difficult to just be a pure clinician and not sort of take notice and take charge in what's happening politically. Yeah. And what has been happening politically is this contract which has been introduced to sort of diminish not only junior doctors but the whole NHS.
We've heard a bit about this on the news,
yes,
but we're not getting much information from the mainstream. So give us a bit of detail on what's the difference with the contract.
So the main problems we've got with the contract, I sort of summate it in 4 points. So number one, the contract doesn't have any whistleblowing protection. So, for example, if you think that there's something wrong with patient safety, something which is unsafe, and you report it to a manager, you don't actually have any protection. So it has happened that doctors have been dismissed before like this and are not protected against making complaints. So if doctors don't whistleblow, then safety of patients is compromised. Number two, safeguarding. So trusts at the moment, if they overwork doctors to ridiculous levels, are fined. Okay? Now, those safeguards are being taken away. So what it means now is doctors basically will be overworked. They're going to be tired. Tired doctors make mistakes.
Right. To get more out of them for the spending.
Exactly. And then number three, there's discrimination. So people who take time out of medicine, majority of whom are women, to have children, people with disabilities,
so you're talking about maternity leave,
etc., less than full-time trainees, they're not pay protected. Yeah. So their pay will drop down. So that's automatically discriminatory in this day and age. And then number four, what's going to happen is, because this myth that they've tried to create, the government, of a 7-day service, so they're presenting it to the public as if it's a 7-day emergency service. If you come in on the weekend, if you come in the middle of the night, you will not get seen by a doctor if you're unwell. Now, we all know since 1948, you get seen by a doctor 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, whatever time you come, by an A&E. So an emergency NHS has always existed.
That's right.
What they actually mean is a 7-day elective NHS. So you can come in on a weekend, have a clinic, have an operation, which is non-urgent. Now, unfortunately, to do that, you have to also put in extra funding because you're putting in more services. So what we're finding that they're doing is they're basically trying to take doctors from midweek positions where we're already so overstretched, and bringing them forward into the weekends. It's almost like robbing Peter to pay Paul, and giving the myth of it being a 7-day NHS. Now, what that's going to lead it to is not only a drop in quality, not only a drop in safety, it's also going to lead to a brain drain, whereas the best doctors decide, you know what, I've had enough, I'm packing this in. And it's already been happening, doctors going to Australia and New Zealand, and as a result the service quality will drop. So those are my 4 main problems with the contract.
Why is the government doing this then? I mean, is it just to make trouble for the sake of making trouble, or what? I mean, because what you're saying is it's
so I mean,
you can understand people will want 7-day doctors, but you see, if it's not going to be proper backup, that doesn't actually make sense. So why are they doing it?
Well, I think what a number of us have argued against is the fact that this idea that the government have got of introducing a 7-day NHS, the Tories are adamant that it was in their manifesto. But number one, they haven't defined exactly what they mean to the public by a 7-day NHS.
Because we do have a 7-day A&E, so that's
so they haven't differentiated between emergencies and electives. Right. Number two, they haven't costed it or funded it. So everything they say is it must be achieved within a cost-neutral envelope. Cost-neutral means not putting in any more money. Okay. Number three, I work as an orthopaedic surgeon. Medicine is a multidisciplinary organisation, so it relies upon doctors, nurses, phlebotomists, radiographers, beds. So if you decide on a surgical ward, we've only got 30 beds, we want to have 100 operations this weekend extra. Even if you increase the number of doctors by 500, if you only have 30 beds, you'll only get 30 operations. You have to put funding in. So why are doing this? I think that the The reason this is being done is to engineer collapse of the NHS.
This is something I've been talking about
Yeah.
for a number of years,
Okay.
and a nurse gave me a lot of this information a long time
Stress
ago
to
when
make it
Balfour
collapse.
Beatty
Mhm. Mhm.
were taking over a lot of the infrastructure of the hospitals, also building them, and
Yes.
it looked to her as though it was getting ready for privatisation. This was about 5 years ago. So what have you seen in the last couple of years? How have you seen things deteriorate?
Well, I just want to go back just very quickly to the point
Yes.
you made before. So
Yes.
imagine the chap who's our health secretary at the moment. If you remember, he wrote a book a few years ago on basically how to privatise the
He
NHS.
did, yeah.
That was his goal. His remit was to privatise the NHS. So, and then going back to what you said about how has privatisation been introduced, well, we already saw it under the previous government, under the Labour government. They introduced PFIs. So one example is a hospital I've worked at in Bart's Hospital as well, and the Royal London. That's a PFI. And what PFIs mean is that the government borrows vast amounts of money to build new buildings, including hospitals, which looks very, very sexy, very good on paper. You know, we've introduced all this extra spending. We've got this brand spanking new building. The problem with PFIs is they rely totally on profit, and the interest that you're paying is astronomical. So effectively, whilst the benefit of the PFI may be seen in the here and now on paper, in the future generations are suffering completely from that.
Yeah, it means
So
you're going to be working for the banks.
So that's
As a
one,
doctor, that's what you're going to
that's
be doing.
one example. The other thing we've seen is they're starting to close down district general A&Es, so centralisation of services.
Now that has been announced in the mainstream media.
Yes.
So how's that affecting things?
Well, what's happening is you're closing down a lot of the A&Es, which would be the catchment areas for smaller populations in the districts. So these are coming to the central hospitals, which are now putting them under
Like the
much
guys
big-
A&E was closed, as an
which are
example,
now
yeah.
putting them under massive amounts of strain. So, for example, I've worked in a central teaching hospital where effectively you're meant to do specialised operations, high poly trauma, that type of thing, as an orthopaedic surgeon. Some of the low-level trauma would normally be filtered out to the districts. Now, if that's not being filtered out and it's being brought, then you lead to much bigger waiting lists, not only for electives but for emergencies. Because you've got so many emergencies, you lead to cancelling of electives because you don't have enough beds available, and you lead to a drop in the quality of services as well. It also impacts upon training as well. A number of the training numbers for doctors now are being taken away from the peripheral hospitals. They're being brought to the centralised hospitals where the time for training now is taken away. The doctors are put through more service commitments, so they don't actually learn to do the operations properly. Number one, that leads to a decrease in quality. Number two, it will also lead to an impact upon training, so more doctors are going to leave the NHS as well. I've only talked about one aspect of privatisation, which is the PFIs. We're also seeing it in things like maternity services. We're seeing it in things like radiological services. Bit by bit, different services are being sold off to private companies, often with no remit for quality, because you don't have care commissions coming in as you do with the NHS. You don't have quality control, and also the goal is for profit rather than the goal being, which has never been the case with healthcare. The goal with healthcare has always been to do the best for the patient. So that's what my concerns really are with this, and I think that is a sort of underlying theme which seems
So
to be
you're
going
saying
on.
there's creeping privatisation,
I
and this
think
is
so.
really...
I think so.
Well,
the
it's not
Tories'
so much
agenda.
creeping anymore,
I think
though,
it's
is
got
it?
quite explicit now.
Yeah,
No, it's
quite
explicit
explicit,
privatisation.
I think it was creeping before, but now it's quite explicit. I know a number of clinicians share my concerns about that as
See, a
well.
lot of the public don't realise this, you know. They walk into...
No, they don't, but they're not given the information, which is why you're here today, because
Well, what I'm
it's very important that to get
so
out.
what I'm here to tell you guys about is, first of all, why did I write this track, Stand Up? So, so for me, I wanted to find a novel way to get a message out. That was my number one goal. I was thinking, you know, the last few months, the public have almost become fatigued with almost being lied to by a number of politicians. With Brexit, we saw the lies that were told with this 350 million for the NHS, which was then taken away the next day. There's been a level of distrust.
Or the emergency austerity budget that was going to happen. And, it was all okay. Day one, after all.
and then we've also seen
it.
with things like even a lot of the things that have been going on with the junior doctors. It's been a lot in the news the last few months. But the public have almost been led to believe that, oh, well, you know, the junior doctors, they're just being ungrateful. It's a vocational job. They want more money, blah, 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 blah. So actually, I thought, how do I get this message out quickly and effectively and permeate people who maybe don't want to listen? And I thought music is a very good way of doing that. It's a sort of different way. It's an unorthodox way. But actually, if you think about it, a lot of great campaigns are built on the back of musical tracks. Songs like John Lennon's Imagine, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. These are very political songs, even though people listen to it and they go, oh, that's a great pop song. I like to listen to that. But then they listen closely and think, what are the words?
Yours is very simple and very direct, though, isn't it?
My lyrics, it's not safe, not fair, but they just don't care. We did not sign up for this. And it's written in respect to the junior doctors' contracts in the NHS, but it's actually very applicable to a lot of stuff that's been going on in our society. Things like post-Brexit, things like, you know, how people are feeling in their day-to-day lives. It's like, actually, we didn't sign up for this. It isn't safe. It's not fair. I wanted to keep the message very simple, very explicit as well. So that's why I picked the medium of music, and I was lucky to get on board someone like Dave Randall, who's
fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to play it in a minute.
Yeah.
And he's the chap who's been with Faithless for 15 years. He's worked with Dido in the past, and Dave is quite politically engaged as well. So he was really interested in the whole topic, and actually he in some ways pushed me a bit further than I probably wanted to. He was like, Rishi, you know, put your words down on a piece of paper, put your emotions, no matter how raw they may be. And I was kind of almost scared and shying away from it. Like, maybe we should make it more inclusive. Is it too and Dave was like, you know what? This is an important theme. This is an important topic. You have to be honest. You have to be honest, even if your words maybe seem to be polarizing. And the key thing I would say to people is this is a song of solidarity. It's not an inflammatory song. It's not a polarizing song. This is trying to bring people together and saying, even the simplest man, woman, and child, get politically engaged. Go to your local meetings. Get involved. You can change things. You know, a song itself may not change things, but a song gets people engaged and people can change things. And that is my message, really, as simple as that. And you're probably finding that as well, that, you know, with what's going on with Jeremy as well, you know, that the fact is the groundswell of support that there's been from members of the public in the last couple of weeks. And I think almost since Brexit and almost since all these, the rather open coup that we've seen, I think people were probably a bit disgusted by that, and actually members of the public were like, you know what, we've got to get engaged.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Last question to you is,
well, it's very
are you supporting my brother, Jeremy Corbyn?
Absolutely, I do support him, because I'm probably going to say something controversial, but I think the last two, maybe not, I think the last 2 weeks, you'll probably disagree with me on this, but I think the last 2 weeks, the myth that he's not electable has kind of been blown away.
Oh, absolutely. Completely.
But
I
always knew it was nonsense anyway.
Yeah,
but it's been blown away.
But I suppose me as an outsider in politics probably saw through the media. I was thinking, you know, actually, I respect this man. He's got a lot of great principles, but maybe his principles are too polarizing, and I don't know if he's going to be able to. As much as I would love
That's
him
the
to,
thing to Blair
I don't know if he's going to be able to capture enough of the public to make that point. But actually, I think he's really risen to the fore in the last 2 weeks, and I think I've seen that from a lot of people that are quite impressed with the way he's been, the way he's spoken. I think actually, you know, even, you know, watching him at Prime Minister's Questions, watching him on TV, I think he's really stood up to the opposition very, very well, and you know, I think he's kind of come to the fore the last couple of weeks.
Well, I think what's happened is that
I think it's been very impressive.
The tactics have become extremely transparent.
Yes.
So it's very good what you've done because you've reduced something down to a soundbite that people can watch in a song.
Yes.
And this is the way politics is going. So it's got to keep it simple.
Let's keep it simple.
So just what I wanted to ask you was that what's the morale like for your fellow staff in the health service at the moment?
I think the morale has been quite low the last few months, not only because I've seen as a healthcare professional, and I can say this as somebody who's almost finished my junior doctor training, it's a job where you go into it vocationally. You don't go for money. You go to look after people. You stay till the job is done. You do 3-4 hours every day, unpaid overtime. You know, because you stay till the job is done. The payoff is the patient. The payoff is the respect you get, the fact that you can help somebody. You know, but what we've seen in the last few months is, you know, the respect for doctors, the power of doctors, the ability to do your job safely has been degenerated again, and that has affected morale, because you come home and you're like, you know, why am I doing this? I'm not being allowed to do my job properly and safely.
You're not being allowed to do your best, basically.
Well, I used to work in a place where I'd see 100 patients in 3 hours in a fracture clinic. I was spending 2-3 minutes with a patient. Now that's not good quality care. That's just a service where you're not
fractures,
and you kind of question yourself. You're like, you know, this is not enjoyable. But number one, I don't feel safe at times. You know, I feel that they are stretching people as much. But what I've seen in the last few months, with some of the protests, with some of the way junior doctors have stood up, I've seen actually a solidarity. I've seen morale grow again, because people have been like, actually, you know, we're not helpless anymore. We felt helpless. As a doctors, I think we've been in the past, we've been quite a disparate bunch. We've actually almost not united in some ways. You know, actually the nursing fraternity are very good for that. Doctors have not been great for that. But one thing I've seen in the last few months is I've seen the unity amongst my fellow colleagues, and I've seen, and that's really given us a lot of vigour. I think with the imposition by Jeremy Hunt, I think that affected morale a lot because people felt a bit hopeless again. But we're fighting that, and that's what this song is about. This song, I made this to sort of reinvigorate morale as well because I felt it was quite low. I felt, as you said, making a simple soundbite, making something people can grasp onto. It almost impassions you, the song, when you hear it. It's got a ska beat. It's almost got that kind of rebellion type vibe about it. But it's about telling people, get up, stand up. Don't be down. Get up, stand up.
It's quite tongue in cheek as well, isn't it?
It is,
and
that's
cheesy sort of
deliberately. And the whole
exactly.
point,
I like the video because of that.
The whole point with the video is the song itself is quite serious.
Yes.
The subject.
The message is serious.
The message is serious. The music is serious. Now I thought, how do you then get the message across in pictures, visually? And I thought just having pictures of lots and lots of protesters, things like that, I thought that's almost been done. It's almost a little bit cliched, and it's almost like the public are tired of that. But almost having this kind of wacky world of a hospital with lots of imagery, the idea of me being resuscitated is basically an image for the NHS being resuscitated. The colour of the dance scenes, I mean, watch the video on YouTube, but that represents sort of the doctors, the NHS, the public coming back to life. The fact that it gets bigger and bigger, it's got a lot of imagery in there, and I think people will like it. And it's not meant to offend in any way at all, but what it is meant to do is be quirky and get people's attention.
Well, it is quirky and it does get people's attention.
I hope it has that impact.
Where can people download it?
So first of all, you can download it on iTunes and Juno Downloads. It's a charity single. It's only 79p. So I want as many people to download as possible because if we can get it charting in the mainstream and hopefully get the message out there.
So the money goes to a charity. Which charity?
So at the moment I'm doing it for I can't name the specific charity because the thing is they don't want to put their name to it, but it's about depression in doctors and suicide rates amongst doctors.
That's very worthy.
That's what I want to do because it's a profession where health professionals themselves don't necessarily get the care that they need. And so that's what I wanted to donate it to.
So is it on Twitter? Is it hashtag something to find it?
The Facebook page is called Stand Up # Not Safe Not Fair. But on YouTube, that's what I want you guys to look out for. It's called Stand Up, and it's by Dr. Rishi.
It is time for us to stand and fight. Side by side, we can win if we unite. Generations will look back at what we do. Do we care for everyone or just a few? You may mislead them and feed them a whole web of lies. But we
want to point out to the public of this country that Jeremy Hunt and the government has systematically misled the entire country. I want to point out to the public of this country that Jeremy Hunt and the government has systematically misled the entire country.
It's not safe, not fair, but they just don't care. We did not sign up for this. It's not safe, not fair, but they just don't care. We did not sign up for this. It's not safe, not fair, but they just don't care. We did not sign up for this. It's not safe, not fair, but they just don't care. We did not sign up for this. It's not safe, not fair. 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 We did not sign up for this.